Another episode of Conversations with Jacob. This is episode number 28. 28 episodes, 28 guests, and 28 topics. And don't worry, which I won't be saying that, throughout all of the episodes. Before we get to our guest this week, I want to talk about the podcast. Of course, you guys know the drill. Our podcast airs every Monday at 1 p.m. You can find us on YouTube, Pandora, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Spotify. I think we're on player.fm, and we're on sites and I guess stations like in the UK, France, Ireland, and also in the Fiji Islands, apparently. Which you can find us on social media, Facebook.com/conversations with Jacob. Twitter is CWJ Podcast. If you got a question, guest suggestion, or just want to say hi, you can email conversationswithjacob@gmail.com. Our website is Conversations with Jacob, podcast.weebly.com. You can find upcoming shows, past guests, also a little section on there called Post from the Host. That was my idea. Anyways, also a big thank you to Jake Thorne, who did our podcast intro. That could only be heard on the audio version only. So joining me this week, his name is Kelly Kirk. So welcome to the podcast, Kelly.
Thank you, Jacob. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. For those who don't know anything about you, like myself, can you give us a little background, basically on who you are?
That's a tall order in a short amount of time. Basically, I grew up having a pretty good life. Never really having anything going wrong. Had every job I wanted to. Was successful at everything I wanted to do. Got to about 40 years old. Opened up my own business with some good friends. The business struggled in a period of 18 months. I had my 11 and 12-year-old nephew and niece were brutally murdered. They were shot in the head. 6 months later, my mom passed away. A month later, my dad was diagnosed with terminal brain cancer. So in a matter of 18 months, life was turned upside down pretty quickly. I ended up leaving the gym. My partners and I had a dispute, walked away from it. Life kind of was falling apart for the first time ever. Fast forward about probably 8 months later, and I came back and took the gym over by myself. Tried to grow it, tried to get it back on its feet, really didn't work. And in the interim, ended up pretty much losing everything that I owned. Ended up living in my car at a rest stop. And I have a smart car, so that's not a big thing to be sleeping in. Met the most wonderful person ever, Sophia Graham. She was my fiance. She believed in me when nobody else believed in me. And she didn't care that the gym was failing, didn't care that I was living in my car, had no money. She just believed in me. And we hit it off. Ended up losing the gym. And over the course of that, gained 50, 60 pounds. I'm 5'5". I was about 226 pounds and unhealthy, high blood pressure, you name it. Mental health was just miserable. And Sophia and I ended up, I was given a free gym membership from a friend of mine. And he said, the only way I'll give you this membership is if you guys promise to come in here and start working out, because I know you need it. And I said, absolutely. So her and I got up the next morning on a Monday morning, 4:30. We walked through the doors of the gym and we started working out together. 6 months later, as our physical was getting better, my mental was getting better. Fast forward a few years past that, I'm 54 today. So long about the time, I'm going to say 47, 48. I ended up getting a job teaching high school nutrition. She had been promoted. She was a dental hygienist for kids, a pediatric dental hygienist. She got promoted a few times. We started our own business teaching people how to do healthy keto and nutrition. I was teaching nutrition, started working for the IFBB, NPC, backstage, expediting at bodybuilding shows and stuff like that. And life was just going fantastic. We had turned it around and everything was going great. 2 years ago, this Friday, so in July, she went to bed and didn't wake up. And I lost her. And my world, to to say the least, got turned upside down. And everything that I had thought I had turned around and, made it through all these traumas and tragedies, it just came to a screeching halt. And kind of going through the grief and the trauma and everything in the beginning, I decided that I wanted to be able to provide for other people what she provided for me, which was she saved my life, turned my life around by getting me in the gym. So I've started a 501c3 fully nonprofit. We're a mental health organization. We're the only mental health organization in the country that pushes mental health through physical strength. And we provide free gym memberships and equipment to anybody who's going through a trauma or tragedy where this gym membership and working out may save their life. Not becoming a bodybuilder, but just literally getting in there and fixing your head, getting the chemicals going, doing the things that we need to do. And we've provided memberships to people that have gotten out of prison, drug addiction, death, loss of job, you name it. That's the thing that we do. And I'm really trying to push this organization. I'm John Maxwell certified in leadership and training, which was something she had wanted me to do. And I'm now using this platform to be able to go into businesses and stuff like that, churches, schools, and talk to them about leadership, growth when you didn't think it was possible, failure, and how to overcome it and how to get there. And that's just kind of where I am. I'm here to try and really build a legacy for Sophia and do for the rest of the world what I think she did for me.
Absolutely. Now, how you've been through a lot. So how did you I don't want to say overcome the grief, but how did you, handle it?
Well, I haven't overcome it because I still deal with it every single day. We're literally coming up on 2 years, and I can tell you, honestly, there has not been a single day in this 2 years where I haven't at some point broken down and ended up bawling my eyes out. In the beginning, I was concerned. What should I do? How do I heal? How do I get past this? I'm not anymore. I've broken down in the grocery store looking at ice cream because I see her favorite flavor. I've broken down in the gym. I've broken down in the car. It is what it is. At this point, I just kind of feel like that's what life is. And, the grief, I think, is just shows the love that I had for her. So there are days where I don't want to get out of bed. All I have to do is think back to who she was. And she was also a competitive bodybuilder, figure competitor, national level figure competitor. And that alarm would go off at 4:30 and her little feet would fly out of the bed and hit the ground and she was ready to go. And I'm like, oh my goodness, can we just sleep a little bit longer? No, let's go. We got to go. And I think about that when my alarm goes off and I'm laying here, and I will talk to her and I have conversations and I'm like, baby, I know I got to get up. I'm going to do this. So I do it for her. One of the things I teach my students in school, we talk about early on, is you have to find your why. What is your why? And Sophia and this foundation are my why. So on those days when I don't want to get out of bed, when I don't want to put one foot in front of the other, I think about my why, and she's the reason. She's the reason why I'm able to get up and keep going.
Now after the death of someone, do people treat you different?
Yes, and having been through it with my nephew and niece, and then my parents, I also lost a brother and a nephew in between there, and then now Sophia. It's been different every time. I owned the gym when my nephew and niece were murdered. And what was amazing to me was we had 3,000 members at the gym that, paid me monthly dues. And they came together like something I've never seen. The murders of my nephew and niece were international news. It was all over the news. Everybody had heard about it. And the outpouring of support and love, and from people that, I look now and I go, I guess they were my friends. These were people that genuinely cared about me, not just somebody that was a random member of the gym paying me $30. We ended up having to shut down our group exercise room where they do yoga and classes and all, because we had thousands and thousands of bouquets of flowers that were just sent to us and brought in. And people didn't care. They were okay with it. The kid's funeral was here locally. and we had about 3,000 people show up for the kids' funeral. The procession was ridiculous. It was just amazing. So that was one of the things where I first realized, wow, people relate different. People were so supportive. Just, it was amazing. You go through that with your parents, over the next 18 months. I lost both my mom and dad. And again, people were supportive, but in a little different way. Your parents are older. It's not as unexpected, obviously, as an 11 and 12-year-old having a bullet put in their head. It's a different thing as it goes through. But people were supportive. But both of those were things where, once it kind of passes, people move on and go back to their own life. They forget that your life kind of stopped turning with that. With Sophia, it's been even more unique. She was young and healthy and not sick. I mean, it was sudden, and the outpouring in the beginning was just absolutely amazing through the bodybuilding community, the fitness community, the teachers that I work with at school, former friends, you name it. But again, you fast forward 30 days, 60 days, their life goes back to normal. Mine didn't. Sophia and I did everything together. So it's hard. And what I've realized from starting this foundation is I like nothing more than to talk about her. I will talk about her to every person I meet. I was in the gym today. 2 people came up to me, asked about my sweatshirt and my necklace. And I went right into talking about her and how amazing she was. And here's the foundation. And to me, that keeps her alive. And that's what I want to do. But it can also be something as little as somebody will say, hey, have you ever been over here to Joe's Pizza? And I'll go, oh, love Joe's Pizza. Sophia and I used to go there every Friday. And you can see the reaction on people. Some people are very uncomfortable with that. Some people will take it and go, oh, that's good. My husband and I wanted to go there and try it. Some people will literally stop in their tracks because they're not sure how to take that. He mentioned Sophia. Do I say something? Do I acknowledge it? Do I say I'm sorry? Like, people are very, very uncomfortable with that a lot of times. And that's the thing that I've noticed that's very different with her. And it may have been the same thing with my parents and the kids, but it's very noticeable now because I do, talk about her so much. But I think that's where they treat you different, is just not knowing what the right thing to say or do is. At the end of the day, there's nothing anybody can do. It's all on you. But I think they just don't know how to act, with that.
Now, how does the foundation help people?
Well, what we do is we provide free gym memberships and training to anybody who is going through some sort of trauma or tragedy where that gym membership and getting in there and working out might actually save their lives. Our mission statement is to lift people who feel the weight of the world on their shoulders, provide improved mental health through the pursuit of physical strength. So that's the first way we do it. We also go in and, like I said, I do seminars for churches, school groups, businesses to talk about growth, to talk about leadership, loss, failure. How do you go past that? But really the way we try and give back is by taking people who are in a position like I was 7 years ago with her, where mentally I was down and out, physically I was down and out, and getting in the gym and working out every day. And it could be as little as just getting on the treadmill. It doesn't have to be anything drastic. But there are so many so many studies that show you that your physical health and mental health are intertwined, that if you can help your physical health, then a lot of times your mental will kind of follow right along. So that's what we try and do.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk about bodybuilding for a minute. And how did you get into bodybuilding?
Ooh, the first time was probably, I wrestled in high school. I was tiny in high school. I was a 98-pound wrestler. Tiny. I'm only 5'5" now, so I'm a little guy. And got out of wrestling in college and started working out in the gym in college, and realized that college wrestling was a little different than high school wrestling. That wasn't someplace I was gonna excel. And met a couple guys in the gym that were talking about bodybuilding. I didn't know a lot about it. I ended up doing my first show and competed. I was probably 23, 24, literally didn't know what I was doing. Competed for the next probably 5, 6, 7 years, something like that, right up until around the year 2000, 2001 was probably the last time I competed. And all local shows, never did anything great. Kind of left the sport from a competitive standpoint, but never left it totally. Opened up the gym, like I said, in 2007. So, of course, we sponsored bodybuilding shows locally. We would help out and bring equipment, and we would be there and all that. And but really had figured that I was done from a competition standpoint. And 3 years ago, Sophia was preparing for a show, and she kept telling me, "You need to get back out on stage. You need to get back out on stage." And I said, it's been 19 years. I don't have anything to prove. I don't really need a trophy. I said I could care less about taking third place out of eighth. I don't need something like that. I said if I thought I could become a professional, a pro, and I would, be at that level, then I would look at doing it. And we were at an event, and she said, "Well, why don't you have a couple of the judges look at you?" So 2 of the judges that I respect and know and I'm friends with, when it was all said and done, I stripped down, went through a couple poses, had them look at me. I said, "What do you guys think?" And they both looked at me and said, "You need to get back out there." And I said, "Okay, if you guys think so." So I prepped for 8 weeks, went to Masters Nationals 3 years ago, and I took second. And I was like, okay, not what I wanted, but that shows that I belong, out there. And Sophia was right. She got me back out there, and I started again. Now, fast forward 3 years, and there's been 5 pro qualifier, 5 national shows that I've done, and I've had 5 top 3 finishes. So still have not reached my goal, but I'm getting closer and closer, and I cannot stop. One of the last night that I talked to her, the last text message from her, I had spoken with some of the other judges, and we were talking about my placing and what was going on. And I had sent her a message, and I said, they really think I'm this close to being a professional athlete. I need to push it. And she wrote back and she said, "Baby, I believe in you. I love you. I know you can do this. The only thing you have to do is go out there next year and take the whole damn thing." And I look at that text message. How do I quit at this point? That's the bodybuilding part. The placing from a bodybuilding standpoint is not that important to me because I've been around the sport. It's subjective. I know what it means. It is kind of what it is. What is important to me is the meaning behind it. The emotion that's behind it. I don't do this for everybody else. I don't walk around the gym in a tank top and have, tight clothes on. I'm what I have on now. I have baggy sweatshirts and baggy clothes on. Nobody ever sees me until I get to the show. I do it for me and I do it for her. So it's very different, but I don't see me ever being able to leave it at this point just because of they're the people that are there are part of my family. I work with them at different shows. And from a mental standpoint, this is what I do every day. This is how I honor her. This is how I keep my head on straight. This is how I stay healthy. So I don't know that I'll ever leave it at this point.
All right. Now, with being a bodybuilder, and what is your, diet like?
I actually run pretty much full keto. So that changed about 6 years ago. Sophia and I started a company, kellykirk.net. And what we wanted to do was go in, and in the beginning, we tried keto because it was brand new. Everybody was talking about it. And, we were like, keto is just no carbohydrates. That's miserable. We've done that. You feel horrible. It's awful. Let's try it. I said, let's try it so we can prove all these people wrong. We spent about a month doing this, and we felt terrible. But we were eating a pound of bacon, tons of cheese, like all this stuff you see on the internet. We felt all this processed food. It was horrible. We were ready to quit, and I was in a chat room talking about keto, and there was a guy in there who was a scientist at National Institutes of Health. And he jumps on there, and I was complaining about how bad I felt and all. And he said, "Hey, let me ask you something." He said, "I don't know anything about bodybuilding, but in the medical community, we don't call it keto. We call it a low-carb, high-fat diet, or a very low-carb, high-fat diet. It's been used since the early 1900s to treat kids with epilepsy. We use it to treat different cancers now. There's some proof that certain cancers can't live without sugar. So going on keto really reduces that. We use it for metabolic syndrome, people that are insulin resistant." He said, "If I could show you a way where you could do this diet and feel a little different, from a medical standpoint, he said at a 20% caloric deficit, when you're dieting down on a standard diet, it's about 60 to 65% muscle sparing. So you're going to lose some muscle when you reduce your calories. He said on a ketogenic diet or a low carb, high fat diet, it's about 90 to 95%. And I said, that would be the holy grail. Let's get together. So he and I started talking. He didn't understand bodybuilding. I didn't understand medical. We kind of put it all together. And Sophia and I really created this program. And over the course of 6 years, I have tweaked it and messed with it and tried everything from a bodybuilding standpoint, a fitness standpoint. And it just really works for me now. It's not the only way, but it's the way that I like. We do a lot of intermittent fasting, which, is a completely opposite of what a lot of people in the bodybuilding community do. They'll eat 5-6 times a day. There is a few times a year where I'll be on a 48-hour fast. I don't eat anything. If you had told me before that I would do that, I would be like, I got to have 3 hamburgers and a Coke and some gummy bears, before I go work out. So it's very different now. Now that I understand the science and have been through it. So with my other business, I promote healthy keto. So it's not here, go eat 2 pounds of bacon and just be in ketosis. It's eat, lots of meat and lots of fats. Your protein's still going to be high. Your carbs are next to nothing. We're going to test your blood. We're going to test your insulin levels, make sure that those are where they need to be, teach you how it works, do intermittent fasting, so we can reduce your insulin resistance, and your metabolic syndrome that most people have, and teach them how to do a healthy ketogenic diet. I eat probably 5 to 7 cups of vegetables every night now. Before, I'm like a little kid. You couldn't get me to touch a vegetable. But you know what? Broccoli's not so bad when I can sprinkle a little bit of cheese on it. Now I can eat 2 cups of broccoli. So it's kind of changed a little bit with it. So that's really the thing that we do now. And it's not all year, but that's the primary diet that we follow.
So if someone's becoming a bodybuilder, is it safe to say that they need to stay away from all the fatty foods, or can they, kind of cheat every once in a while?
Well, and again, it depends on the diet and kind of the goal. In the off season, you're certainly going to have a lot more fatty foods. On my diet with a low carb, high fat, I eat a lot of high fat foods. What I don't do is I don't have any carbohydrates. I don't have any rice. I don't have potatoes. I don't have bread. I don't have pasta. Whereas a lot of old school standard bodybuilding would be, a chicken breast and a cup of brown rice, 4 times a day, 5 times. I don't follow that regimen. I don't do any rice, any kind of carbohydrate. So I will, instead of doing a plain grilled chicken breast, I'll do 2 chicken thighs, which have a lot more fat, a lot more flavor. To me, I like that. I can get up on a Sunday morning and I can make spare ribs and put sugar-free barbecue sauce on it. I can make, chicken thighs. I can make chicken wings as long as they're not breaded. So you really just learn kind of around it. As you get closer to competition, then yes, the fat comes down because you want to be burning your body fat as opposed to your nutritional fat. But I'm kind of a foodie, so I like to eat, I love to eat any kind of good food, and sometimes the fattier the better. So
yeah. Now, for someone that's listening or watching on YouTube that wants to become a bodybuilder, or probably has it, something, if they want to do it in the future, and what advice would you give to them?
Consistency. It's literally consistency. I have been in the gym and training since I was probably 15. When I was little and I started wrestling, I was 92, 93 pounds in my parents' basement with 80s music cranked because it was the 80s. And, my shirt off. And you couldn't tell me at 92, 93 pounds that I wasn't just like Hulk Hogan back in the day. In your head, and you're a kid, you think that. So I started working out then, worked out through college. And like I said, I got into bodybuilding, and it's just consistency. I can tell you that there hasn't been a time in my life where I have gone 30 days without being in the gym. Now, does that mean that it's been at the same level and, hardcore? No, life happens. There's things going on with kids and parents and businesses and travel and other stuff, but it's just become a part of my life. It's who I am. So the biggest thing I would tell somebody that was trying to get into it, and I do, I have people approach me at the gym often, is just consistency. You just need to do it over and over and over again. It doesn't have to be some crazy hardcore thing. It doesn't have to be, just get in there and do something. It might be as little as walking on the treadmill or taking a class. It might be in there just training, but just do something, because that's where we all kind of lose it. It's consistency.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, when you go to the gym, and what is your routine like?
It changes during the year. So my competition just ended right now. I'll go into a split where I really hit one main body part a day and touch up a couple little ones. And I'll go 5 or 6 days a week. When I get about 20 weeks out from a competition, that switches, and I end up doing 2 body parts every day. So I end up hitting four different body parts, a couple times a week. And I also start adding in a lot of cardio. I'll do cardio in the morning and cardio at night. Right now, I can take a little break from the treadmill and the Stairmaster, so it's not so bad. I said I teach high school, so I have to be at school before 7. So when I'm in prep, I walk into the gym at 4:30, 4:45 for my first workout. Get to school, showered and cleaned up and ready to go. And I finish school at 2:15. I run some business stuff, and I end up back at the gym at about 5:30 or 6, train a second time, do cardio a second time, come home, cook, shower, go to bed, and kind of do it all over again the next day.
Yeah. Now, you offer some workshops.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
They're leadership workshops. So John Maxwell organization is the largest coaching and leadership organization in the world. And I am certified through them to be able to come in and talk to churches, businesses, schools, any kind of grief groups I've talked to. And what I have really tweaked is I have tweaked it into talking about growth. I always say, grow through what you go through. And that growth could be in business. It could be in your personal life. It could be sports. It could be in your relationship. We all go through setbacks. We all go through thinking we're doing good and getting kicked in the gut. And I try and specialize in growth when you didn't think it was possible. Because again, I was living in my car and literally ready to be done. And I was able to figure out growth all the way through that. And here I am now, getting kicked in the gut 2 years ago, losing Sophia. And I had a choice. I could stop and I could collapse and crumble, or I could figure out how to grow. And 2 years later, I am still growing. I'm still grieving, but I am still growing. I am growing my business. I am growing my knowledge. I'm growing bodybuilding. I'm growing my mental health, even though I struggle every single day. And most importantly, I'm growing her foundation, so I try and push that. I also talk to groups about failure and trying to fail forward. This past week, my competition, I started out 364 days before that to become a pro, to take first place and become a pro. Took second. That's a failure. Doesn't mean that I'm a failure. I made improvements. I, did what I was supposed to do. I came in, I'm happy with what I presented. It's nobody's fault. You can't blame the judges. You can't blame me. It's what the sport is. But at the end of the day, that's still a failure. If you're the Buffalo Bills and you go to the Super Bowl and you lose 4 times in a row, that's still a failure. You're better than 99.9% of the other teams out there, but you still failed your ultimate goal. So I talked to a lot of companies and a lot of businesses about the failing and how you can, I call fail forward. You want to fail forward. You want to have that failure. You want to step back. You want to learn from it. You want to readjust. You want to take responsibility, and you put a plan together, and you go after it again. So yes, you failed, but you didn't fail back. You failed forward. And that's really one of the big things that I like to push. Growth when you didn't think it was possible, and failing forward.
Now, when you do these competitions, and what are the judges looking for?
It's subjective. It's supposed to be size, symmetry, and conditioning. So how big are you? What's your symmetry? Meaning, are your legs the same? Are they too small for your upper body or vice versa? And your conditioning. How lean, how low is your body fat? But again, it's subjective. Everybody looks at something completely different. You and I can look at the same person and literally have completely different thoughts. And, I know that I've been around the sport for 3.5, almost 4 decades now. So I understand that. So it's hard to get mad at it because you just never know. You kind of have to go into every competition and compete against yourself. This is where I was last time I stepped on stage. This is where I need to be. And that's really what I tell everybody, how you have to look at it. Is at the end of the day, you're competing against yourself. Doesn't mean you're not going to be disappointed, but you're still competing against yourself.
All right. Can anybody be a bodybuilder, or is there like like a certain body type, that can be one? Or
no, I think at different levels anybody could. We have literally from teenage all the way up through this past weekend was Masters Nationals. There were literally guys in their 70s and 80s still competing. So it's phenomenal. And it's motivating to see somebody 81, 82 years old, still in pretty good physical shape, male and female, coming out there, and doing their thing. And you're like, my goodness, I just pray that I can have half that energy, when I get to that point. And everybody doesn't do it for the same reasons. There are people, your top 1% of your 1% of your 1% that are the Arnold Schwarzeneggers, that are the Ronnie Colemans, the Jay Cutlers, that are the best of the best. They're making a living off of this. They're making millions of dollars. That's not what most people are doing it for. Some people do it because they lost 150 pounds and they feel confident and they want to show people how hard they worked. Some people have gone through and beaten cancer and different stuff. We've got a guy that competes that lost his legs in Iraq, and he comes back and he has 2 prosthetics, and he literally comes out and bodybuilds. It's the most inspiring thing you can see. Like I said, I do it because I do it for me, and I do it for Sophia and the foundation, but I do it for my own mental health. Everybody kind of has their own reasons. So there's levels for everybody. So it's one of those things where, everybody doesn't go out there to win. Some people just go out there to say, look what I was able to accomplish. So I push it towards everybody because, and the people that do it, I do a lot of work with the IFBB and the NPC where I'm backstage. So I'm helping people get ready and line up and, breathe and relax. And this is what you have to do. And I love that. I have more people, Sophia and I both do that. I have more people that have come up to me since her passing and have said, hey, or sent me messages on Facebook and Instagram. I know you didn't know me. I met Sophia at a show in Orlando or Maryland or something, and she was so sweet to me and so positive. And she came up and told me to do this with my suit and how good I looked and I should do this and blah, blah. And I'm like, man, this girl had such a positive impact on so many people. And these weren't people that, she even knew. It wasn't her friends. It was just who she was. And I really try and take that to heart and do the same thing when I'm backstage. I want those people to walk away and have a positive feeling about it. Man, that guy Kelly, he really made me feel good. He taught me something. He showed me something. So everybody has a different reason for it. So yeah, I would say yes, everybody can get involved.
Absolutely. Now with the foundation helps people, but can people help the foundation?
Yes. We literally survive off of donations, people buying the sweatshirts and the bling and the stuff, we make it off of that, but really off of donations. I get corporate donations from certain companies that I work with and individual donations, really. That is really how we got started. I started this organization February 22nd, 2022. So I'm about a year and a half into it. And the first year was still a struggle mentally because I was still really trying to process everything. This last 6 months, it has been just ridiculously successful, and it's growing and growing and growing. This will be $1 million charity in 5 years. That is my goal, was to have this be $1 million charity where I am helping people in so many different ways, not just with my, leadership speaking, but being able to provide gym memberships, provide stuff at home, balls, bands, things they can do, walking shoes, whatever it is that somebody needs where they have gone through something, and being able to get out and exercise, even if it's not in a gym, even if it's getting out and being able to go walk around your neighborhood and you can't afford a good pair of tennis shoes to do it. Let us help you with that. Let me get you some good shoes and get you out there. That's what I'm looking to do. So people can definitely help out with, donations and all. I can tell you a funny story real quick on 222 Muscle and kind of where it came from. So when Sophia and I met, I told you I was living in my car. So I had a friend of ours who had said, hey, you can come live with me at her condo. Her condo ended up getting flooded. The upstairs hot water heater flooded. They put her in a hotel for like 6 months. So she was like, well, you might as well come with me. It's 2 bedrooms. We can come live in the hotel. I'll help out. I said, great. So I go over there. We move all of our stuff into the hotel. The first night, Sophia is coming over to visit. She texts me and she says, hey, baby, I'm on my way over to see you and Sherry. What room are you in? And I said, oh, okay, great, babe. I'll see you in a little while. We're in room 222. And she says, 222, is that on the first floor? No, baby, 222 is on the second floor. That's why 122 would be on the first floor. So we picked on her and ragged on her and just made fun of her. That was our relationship, That's not funny, we always made fun of her. Well, fast forward a couple months later, and she's doing a show. And the show she was doing, I had helped her get ready for. First time I had kind of helped her prep for show. It is random when you walk up. They give you a little round number. You put on your bathing suit or bikini. Her number was 222. She won the overall at that show. And it happened one more time at a national show when she was trying to go pro. 222 just kept coming up over and over and over again was her number. So she had a dumbbell necklace, and I had a dumbbell necklace with one each. So when she passed away, I took hers and I had it welded to mine. I had hers opened and I had her ashes put in it. So this has now become the symbol, 222 Muscle, I guess if you see, and the Sophia Graham Foundation. So it's her and I's dumbbell together to represent both of us, and then 222 because that was just our number. And, if you look into the spiritual world of 222 and the meanings, it talks about, never giving up and somebody always being there and new hope and new life and all of this stuff. So it really has just kind of taken on a life of its own. But I love telling that story because I'll just never forget her. Is that on the first floor? Oh my goodness. No, it's on the second floor. And it's one of those things looking back, you never think any of this is going to happen to your life. But it's crazy when I think about that and how that was something special that we joked about. And now it's really just turned into something absolutely huge. So I love that story.
Oh yeah, good story. For the people that's listening that wants to follow you on social media or maybe the foundation on social media, where can they do that?
Yep. Well, let's see. My the website is sophiagrahamfoundation.org or 222muscle.com. Both of those take you to the same place, and that has all of our social media listed. But for myself on Facebook, it's just Kelly Kirk. On Instagram, it's Flexen13, FLEXXN13. And then we have foundation pages too. Sophia Graham Foundation on Facebook and Sophia Graham Foundation on Instagram as well. So we put lots of posts out there, lots of links to things, pictures of events that we're doing. We're doing a big walkathon for Mental Health Awareness Month in October through the school that I work at and the kids there to be able to raise money both for the school and for the foundation. I have this show coming up this weekend. So just lots of things that we try and do and grow. But yeah, if anybody wants to follow me, I would love that. I will follow you back, and I'd love for everybody to be kind of part of my journey and see what happens.
Well, there you go. Now, towards the end of every episode, I'd like to ask a guest this question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get any closing thoughts or a statement that you'd like to make to the listeners has listened to the podcast?
Just that I want everybody to know that we all go through things in life, and we all, if you haven't been through something yet, I promise you will. At 40 years old, my life had been pretty easy. I really had never lost anybody. I had great jobs. I had great money. And somewhere between 40 and now 54, it's been a series of kicks in the guts. And if you haven't gone through something traumatic or tragic, you will. And we all have to figure out how to go through it. And there are people in this world that don't go through it. They crumble and they fall apart, and that's okay, but that doesn't have to be the way. So I think my message to everybody is you find your why, figure out what it is that's going to get you out of bed every day when you do not have the physical and mental power to do it, find that reason. And if you don't know what that reason is, then contact me and let me help you figure out how and what that reason is, because there's a reason for us to get out of bed every day. I feel like Sophia was put on this earth as an angel for me. It doesn't matter what your religious beliefs are or spiritual beliefs are. The amount of things that have happened in the past 2 years since I lost her have changed my thinking immensely on what happens to us after we pass away, and the signs that I get from her and the things that have just fallen into place. And it's funny because I'm a happy person. I laugh at the gym, I have fun at school with my students, I watch movies and I enjoy myself. But at the end of the day, I'm sad without her. I cry every day and I'm sad, but I am not the person who's going to walk around with my tail tucked and my head down. I'm not going to fight away from that and act like I'm not. But it's okay. If you're going through something, it's okay. There's no timeline. There's no right way. There's no wrong way. So that I think would be my message to everybody. If you're going through something, you're not alone. It's we've all been through something. We're all going to go through stuff, and there's a way out of it. If you can't figure out what it is, contact me or somebody who can help you figure that out. I need it for me. It helps me to talk to other people that are going through something to go, wow, you're an inspiration. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, that's completely inspiring to me. That's going to get me up tomorrow morning. So there's always a way.
Oh yeah, I think that's a good one that I've heard so far. 28 episodes. Well, the one that was last week, or the one I did today, before this one,
that
one was pretty good as well.
Yeah.
I think it's a tie between you and him. Had the most statements.
I love it.
Yeah, you're welcome. But anyways, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast to talk
Absolutely.
about. I had a good time, and we might get to do it again sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to be able to keep in touch and keep you updated, even if it's for a quick little short 10 minutes, just to say, hey, this is what we're doing. We're growing. We're doing this. We're doing that. I would absolutely love, to do that and have you be part of all this as we go.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, once again, thank you for coming on the podcast. I appreciate it. So that's it for this episode of Conversations with Jacob. Tune in next week as we talk with Joe Gatto, not from Practical Jokers, but he's but this Jeff Gatto cooks food. So tune in next week as we talk food and whatever else comes to mind. So until then, be safe. God bless, and we'll catch you in the next episode.